The international airfare disparity, Nigeria wants it regularized, and so much has been going on about it. Well, this morning, some headlines actually says Jonathan endorses action against BA, Virgin Atlantic, others. But Mr. Olumide Ohunayo joins us now. He's also an aviation analyst. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Well, this matter pops up in our faces again, but this time also quoted that UK says we will also take retaliatory measures or actions, if you will, if Nigeria were to go ahead at the end of 30-day ultimatum, ban the airline. Well, some may say, whoa, it may be tough, but what do you see playing out?
Who are they going to retaliate against? Is it Arik? Who's going to lose? They're not only protecting the British Airways, they're protecting the British interest and the kind of profits the British Airlines are making on those routes. What will happen if you stop them from coming to the routes? They're looking at the employment that will happen in their markets. That is what they are fighting for, not British Airways alone. You know, so if they start that, they will be at the receiving end. But you see, we have with the economy, the world has gone beyond threats and throwing banters. Let us face the issue. What do we have? We accepted deregulation, and the fares are deregulated right now.
Are they?
Yes, they are deregulated.
Business class and first class.
It's the airlines that fix it. In the past, you could file, and the authorities against you can say no, you cannot go beyond this rate. But that's not the case now. All they do now is fix their price and just send the documents to NC just for notification, and then they deregulate. Now we want to stifle. I'm not saying we should not find a way out, but we cannot just stifle like that. And I do not agree to the ultimatum because it's coming from the minister, and when it comes from the minister, it's assumed that the Nigerians are speaking. So before you go to the ultimatum, I expect to have explored all opportunities and any window that we can use to get some negotiation in before going to the ultimatum. Because once the ultimatum come in and you don't show action, then you now look like you just make so much noise. You really have to have this team. What happened? I was here the last time we talked about Arik. Arik went from Abuja to London. Today they are not operating. They stop operating the flight. Yeah. They're back to Lagos route.
Yeah, but is that not part of what the government has been trying to sort out? And then they keep saying we're working on it, we're looking into this, and government thinks dragging about this.
Okay, in the heat of the moment, then they give Arik, I think it was about a month window to operate, and say that before then they would have worked out something. At the end of the day, when they brought out the rules, the bilateral, what you signed, because what you signed was they can operate to London, to any of the airports in London, not specifically to Heathrow and any other airport in London.
So it means
if you don't have a space.
What about the agreements we signed? Can they operate also to Maiduguri as opposed to Abuja?
We're talking about cities now. Lagos, London.
Okay, so anywhere in London.
Yes. So if you have another airport in Lagos, another international airport, yes, you cannot include that. If you don't have a space in Murtala Mohammed Airport, then you can go to Lekki International. You can land in Lekki International or Ekpe International.
So in other words, let's also introspect, look at that document and see, because for instance, will it be out of place if we were also to introduce some sort of fees that you have to pay to get slots also back here?
Oh yes. You need to do that to raise revenue for the airport, and again to help your airlines. It was sitting. You know what? Why we are in this problem? We've sat down all the while waiting like the NURTW men just sitting at the door collecting this Basa money. You operate to my country. I am not capable and I don't want to operate to your country. Just operate and give me some extra money. And it is now coming out to haunt us.
21 flights a day.
Yes. Now they have 21. We're operating only 7.
And you said the Abuja route has been suspended again.
So we have only 7, and that's 7 that Arik operating from Lagos, London. 7. So we have 14 now lying waste. And the same British authorities right now are even asking for an open skies, whereby they will be unlimited between two countries. When we cannot go beyond 7, you want more. So that's the problem we have right now. But you see, the issue right now is this discriminatory fare, and it's not only the British carriers. I've been seeing that people talking about it's not only the British carriers, the Europeans, even Emirates. If you look at Emirates fare too, it's discriminatory. And it now boils down to what is the problem? How did we get to this stage?
Because that's the question people have been asking, because now you just mentioned Emirates, and everyone watched Emirates grow, and now Emirates is one of the most fantastic airlines in the world.
The route that Emirates is operating twice a day today was started by Nigerian Airways. Nigeria was invested, opened the route, built the route. At the time it was collapsing, we were expecting any of the other carriers. Then Bellevue was jumping up and down that they were the new bride of the country, but today they are gone, and they were not able to take it up. Emirates came, they're now maximizing. They have 2 flights a day. Etihad is coming from the same country. I mean, the next 2-3 months they'll be in Nigeria. Air Arabia is signed to come to Nigeria from the same country. And today, not a single carrier from Nigeria is going. But how did we get to this stage? Let's look at why do we have this first. Let's start with the psychological thing. We have this penchant of saying, I do not fly, I will only fly the business class. And because the demand is there, we always buy it. We even have, you see that, at times you see that business class is filled, the economy class is empty.
Yeah.
And majority of the people that spend this money are from the government. What happens? Local government, state, federal, everybody, all the agencies, they all go to attend a conference, one seminar, even if they don't need it, they go for capacity building. After capacity, they go for pocket building. Thereafter, they go for medical treatment. Then they're going on vacation, all being paid, and they all fly on the business class. So once they fare, and when you come, you say you want to fly business. I'm not going to, they're not stupid. When you come and say you want to fly business, what they offer to you is the highest business fare they have. They're going to hide the lower one.
In what range are we even looking at? Because this things fluctuate.
It fluctuates. It depends on where the country where you're going to. But you're looking at some are high at $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, and above, depending on the country and the airline.
But from Accra, it could be as low as
if you have about 7-8 here, it could be about 4,000, 5,000 from Accra. So now it's the demand. And again, I hear people say because of the cost services that we provide, that the cost of operation in Nigeria is high. Normally, when the cost of operation is high for you an airline, what you do is either you pull out of that country, reduce your capacity or reduce your frequency because the cost of operation is high. But in our own case, you claim that cost of operation is high. They are increasing frequencies, increasing capacities, moving from one access to operate into Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. And you say our cost of operation is high in Nigeria? No, I don't know to subscribe to that. That's not the reason for the
But if your cost of operation is high in a country and somehow you're able to make ends meet even in that same country because the people there are willing to pay for it, as it were, then of course there's no reason to pull out. But one should ask, you've mentioned a couple of airlines that we used to have that were locally owned. One should ask why they packed up in the very first instance. If there is so much business here, and at the end of the day, they still couldn't survive. Isn't that a point to the fact that truly we have a tough operating business environment?
I don't think so. You see, I think we have a problem, and that problem is commercial in the industry. There's so much emphasis on training pilots, training engineers. Who manages the airline? Are they not going to be trained? But what you hear is, once you want to stop an airline, you have engineers and captains. They've left the commercial part, and that's the commercial part that's come to haunt us. Even coming to the regulator right now, they perform very, very well on the safety aspect. They've been able to regulate, they've been able to restore safety, confidence in our country. Again, the economic regulation part is where we're having problems, because if this economic regulation have gone well, then some of the problems we're having in the airlines today would have been solved, would have been able to take. And that's why some of this say, look, if you really want these carriers to move, if you really want Nigerians to participate, you need to build that critical mass. Invest in these carriers, ask them to mark. If they don't want to do it, we can do it by regulations. Don't it's not by force. If you want to come, look, Indonesia just did it too. Indonesia was having the same problem like us. They were having crashes. Their planes were dropping from the skies. They had the same regulation like us. They said if you have 2 aircraft, you can become an airline. They suddenly jacked it up to 10, from 5 to 10. Now if they say 5, they say out of the 5, the 5 must be owned, not leased. You must own those 5. That means you must buy it.
That demonstrates capacity.
And that's what we need. That's what we need to get our airlines out. And that's why I do not agree to those who are calling for a national carrier.
Right. Initially when you started, speaking, when we talked about airlines, you said something about the regulation of prices. You don't seem to support deregulation.
No, I support the regulation.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I support the regulation.
So,
you see, there are things you can do when you have this kind of problem. Let me tell you about what Venezuela did. Venezuela, what the president did, he's a leftist. He just asked them, the central bank of Venezuela, not to make it difficult for them to take those money out of the country. And immediately did that, they cut their schedules. They just introduced a financial policy that made it difficult to transfer money out of the country, and they cut the airlines. Now, what about Philippines? What the Philippine government did was to ask them that, now, if you're operating to my country, your gross revenue, you're going to pay 10% of that money to a coffer. And someone like Air France started reducing frequency to the country.
Is that what we want? So do we want them to reduce frequency or want them to reduce airfares?
We want them to reduce airfares, but you see, when you come to the table, before you go to the table, you must bring some things, not just ultimatum. You must bring some stifling things to the table that will make them sit down. So, okay, fine, we are ready to sit down and look at the issues you have raised. But coming just giving ultimatum without bringing some things that would stifle. Not operations per se.
You know, some say,
but that financial part of it.
Just allow me come in here. Some still say
you give something to get something back.
Yeah, absolutely, but some still say the government is selfish here, because if you look at it critically, they are complaining because maybe, as you rightly said, well, they are the bulk of those who fly the first class. Now, let's talk about local flights, for instance. If you compare what we pay locally and you put it in a dollar equivalent to what you pay in a local flight, maybe in the United States or in the UK, you just realize that it's absurd and crazy what we charge ourselves as Nigerians here.
Again, if you look at that, again, it comes to the attitude. It's the same attitude we've obtained, we are doing in the domestic front, that has taken us to these fare problems on the international market. The American you're talking about, Airus having something like that in place now. If you book ahead, you pay cheap, you get the American fare you're talking about. But what happens? Everybody walks up to the counter that money and you expect to fly on lower fare. It's not possible. It's not possible. No, so you have to plan to travel, and we hardly plan. And we don't plan because that's when you need to push your documents quickly, because you don't want people to know you want to travel. So we have an attitude thing concerning traveling. If you plan your travel, you will get cheaper fares. But if you do not plan it, you're going to pay more. Again, the attitude of having all government officials traveling. I think right now, what's the most important for Mr. President this year is to reduce public travel expenditure of all the parastatals of government. It must go down. If this is done, it's going to affect the fare price too.
Is it?
Because the demand is high.
Is it wrong for a government official to fly economy, knowing full well that it's not even your money, but it's the country's money?
Exactly. Is it wrong? Yeah. Because if the government gives economy ticket, if you feel you can't fly on economy ticket, then you add your own money and go in the business class. Those are the policies that we can put in place that would help us in bringing down these fares. But outside that, if you think you can bring them into a room, lock them up and give an ultimatum, it would not work.
It seems to me that...
And surprisingly, we have issued an ultimatum and we are calling them for a meeting next week. Actually, the ultimatum should have come after the meeting.
What you seem to be suggesting is that the government too should have tried some slightly punitive measures
on the using financial instruments.
Why would
SCA do that?
No, SA cannot use financial instruments. It has to come from the central bank, the Ministry of Finance. You have a way. You just put it in there, and they come talking to you because they need the money.
The question would be, why would you advise that the government do something like that when we haven't exactly put in place alternatives for Nigerians, just in case they experience a bit of difficulty, or just in case there is a backlash on the people who need to travel?
I tell you, they are not going to pull out. They are going to drop the fares. And every day we keep having people coming. Morocco is here. Rwanda has come. People are not going to Rwanda. They're going beyond Rwanda.
Oh, you mean more international flights?
Carriers are coming in. Jordan is planning. Rwanda is here. But they like Rwanda, small Rwanda crisis is here.
Very soon there'll be Air Cote d'Ivoire too.
Yeah, why not? Jordan is coming.
So we need
Morocco is here. But you see, let us ask ourselves, what have we done to our own carriers? Our present flagship, Arik, is a disappointment. Because right now, all they do is point to point. They cannot interline. And you need that to... How can you go from here to the whole of South Africa, or you take your passengers, drop in Joburg? You go to London, drop in London. You go to New York, drop in New York. Because they're not in Nigeria clearinghouse. And they are the ones that is making it very difficult now for you to say, yes, you have a Nigerian carrier.
Is it that there is a ban restricting them from being in IATA clearinghouse?
It has to do with... They had a problem. They did not meet their own part of the agreement there financially, and that's why they were kicked out.
Let's not forget that, Arik too also had a bit of financial difficulty, and they just stepped in recently. The government just stepped in recently to help them, worry about the payment of their planes less. So these are some of the things that make it difficult for airlines to survive in a country like Nigeria. Do we pay attention to how our businesses thrive in this country?
That's what I said. The emphasis has always been on pilots and engineers. They've not been looking at the core managers. What they remove MDs in other industries in the country. Why is it not happening in the airline industry? They remove MDs, they remove directors, but it's not the same in the airline industry. The only place the first part is just safety, and the economy has been left, and that is why we're in this crisis. But I really look forward to a time where we'll be ready to build our careers to compete. Bellevue, they're out today, but the little time they spent on the London route, it affected the fares. They brought down fares.
What did they do different?
Nothing. They just reduced their own fares, introduced this extra 2 to 3 bag check-in. That's why we have it 2 bags now that they're checking over. Before it was just one they were giving. It was Bellevue that brought in those 2 bags check-in, and the other airlines were now made to introduce it. And because Bellevue did that, the African countries that are stealing passengers, I think, let me sorry for this, was stealing. The other African countries, Morocco, Libya, Africa, Libya, Kenya, Egypt, that were going to London to use from Lagos, introduced the 2-bag policy. So the European carriers were forced to join. That was the effect. But you see, Arik is not doing that. Arik feels having a brand new aircraft makes you be in the league, and that is why we're having this problem. They want to match them fair for fair, and
well, that's interesting. But who knows what happens eventually now? But could you also be that they seem to be saying, well, we'll also take retaliatory action because we seem to say not just UK but Europe also. So would I give them a platform to say, well, let's see how you guys want to take on Europe?
It's not an European thing. We see right now, like I said, the papers and the public have been calling British Airways Virgin.
Yeah, but we understand that even Lufthansa and a whole lot of other airlines do the same thing in terms of the fares.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That this present crisis is not just British Airways, because if you remember the last time it was unfair charges that brought B and VA to the public about the unfair charges. Not this discriminatory, but this discrimination involves all carriers operating.
Are you also thinking of safety?
Even Emirates, Qatar.
Let's talk about safety and the kind of service you get.
So it's not the Europeans alone.
Talk about safety, the kind of service you get from Nigeria carriers, especially the locally flown aircrafts. Wouldn't that be a yardstick for you to raise fares, knowing full well that you don't get some of these in our local flights?
No, there's no link. You see, there's no link between the service we provide on the domestic fares and on the domestic run and the service that's provided on the international. What the link now is that we have no domestic airline right now. That is, our domestic are not competing with these carriers. Emirates is having a free day on Lagos Dubai and point beyond. Airfare is having a free day, Lagos Paris. KLM, no Nigerian. On the London that we're talking about now, 7 to 14.
So who would you put the blame
on the American route? Arik has about 5 flights there, 6 or thereabout. I have about 3 airlines from America here.
But the industry has been long deregulated. So who do you blame?
It's ourselves. We open the industry. As the economy, as the people are beginning to enrich themselves, as democracy came and we're beginning to pay fat monies, we began to expand the frequencies, give the airlines to come into the different cities. As they were coming in, our airlines began to shrink, and as they are shrinking, we've not done anything, we've not put anything in place to strengthen our carriers, and we need to strengthen. That's why I say, instead of wasting that money, instead of taking that risk to start a new national carrier, get those funds. Pick 3 of those airlines, invest in them.
The current airlines,
invest in 3 of them. Pick about 2 or 3 of them. Invest that money in those airlines, and let us sell your investment to Nigerians. Because right now we are not. These airlines have a problem too, because most people don't see them as Nigerian airlines. They are owned by individual. They see them as individual airlines. Virgin. Everybody keeps talking about Virgin. Virgin Atlantic is owned 49% by Singapore Airways. So that is Branson brings out his face. And the one they have in Australia, he has just about 30% or so in it, and including the one in America. But what do you have here? Once this man is not around, nobody can sign check. Forget the board. The board they are putting. The board is not. It's just there. It's not existing. The boards are not existing. It's one-man show.
So we need to look at our business model also here.
Exactly. So we need to look at the business model. We need to get this airline back and back on track, so they can compete and give the foreign carriers some competition. But between now and the 30th, we start looking at policies, financial policies that we can use to store the exploitation, to store transferring of funds. That's one. Secondly, we must address our public travel expenses. If Obama could put that as part of his policies for this year, what is wrong with us doing that in Nigeria? Now that we have increased the cost of fuel.
So in fly economy, public officials.
Yeah, they should do that. That's another policy. You can again, apart from flying policy, you reduce public travel. Must you go for everything that is not important? There must be a budget. What happens? Do you know what we have now? All you need to do is walk up to your department, show your ticket coupon and your receipt, and they just assume that that you have traveled. But if you had put a ceiling that if you are going to Europe, the maximum you can spend is $4,000. So if you don't get a seat, if you cannot get a seat, now the others have done something. They've done a kind of mini business class in economy. They call premium economy class. It's an economy in a bigger seat. So if you want to be a big man, just go pay money and not sit in the premium economy or sit in the economy.
And most of the tickets are off the counter.
If you think you're overweight like me and you cannot sit in the economy, then add your money and go to the business class. And that helps everybody. You save money for the economy. You grow you grow airlines.
Interesting. Well, who knows what happens thereafter? But that policy will be an interesting one if it was to come to see the light of day.
Yeah, the Americans have done it. They've reduced public travel expenses. Why can't we put that in as part of our plan? No, you must reduce public travel. All you do is just take your coupon to the audit department. They will refund you even if it is $15,000. That's for nothing. Well, there must be a ceiling to that travel. There must be a ceiling, a price ceiling.
But the important thing is we also need to get a representative airline.
Again, yes,
that will fit
and compete.
So that if one says this, we have an alternative.
Exactly, and that's why we say, if in doing that, rather than take a risk of starting a new national carrier afresh, because I'll tell you, all those who have lost their national carrier,
and all those who have owned,
yes, all those who have owned a national carrier and have attempted to return with another carrier, none of them have been successful.
None.
Ghana, Cameroon, Gabon, Cote d'Ivoire, Greece.
No, but in what way did they try to return? Did they try to return wholly owned, or
they try to return wholly owned, even with technical partnership? That's what you are feeling. That's just what you are feeling. That's not the thinking of the government.
Oh,
why they say national carrier? What is national? It must be owned by government.
Entirely.
But your flag carrier
entirely owned by government?
Yes, it must be owned by government.
No, but if you own 5%,
it must be owned by government.
Eventually, you divest so that you let it grow. Isn't that going to help?
If you have 5% from government and you have maybe 95% from a foreign country, is that your national carrier?
It doesn't have to be from foreign.
That's a foreign country. What about it's owned by Nigerians? I mean, if Nigerians are also allowed to buy into it. After all, who makes up the government?
That's what it's us. Yeah. The money they have for the 5%, they then put it to the existing carriers. Go and put it in Aero. Put that money in Virgin Nigeria. Put that money in
but how is that our own? Because I mean, like you
because
just said,
once you put money, you're investing. You're investing in it. So if you're investing in it, you have a say. You have a say.
Okay.
Well, you see, and they need to throw that spirit. You see, the airlines right now, they need to expand ownership. It must reflect Nigeria.
Yeah, but they have to expand ownership first to allow people to buy in.
That's what we say. We can work this out. That the government can go ahead and say, "Look, I want to buy into any of these."
What if they refuse?
They cannot refuse because right now they don't have the critical mass. They don't even have the strength. That's why they are running to the bailout to the funds. You know, there's a 200 billion naira out there for them to pick from, and that's why they're running. What have they done with the money? They're not investing with the money. They are using it to refinance old debts.
All right, sounds interesting.
They need finances, and if the government is bringing it at no rate, who will jump at it? Okay. I tell you, if the government offer it, you see they will jump at it.